The third chapter of the secret history of the Mongols describes the most crucial and climactic period of Temujin's life. It focuses on the final destruction of the Merkit tribe and the great event of the year 1206, when Temujin was proclaimed Genghis Khan. At the Grand Assembly of the Mongols, the war of vengeance against the Merkits was directly linked to the abduction of PART2. Although Temujin had once rescued his wife, the Merkits continued to fear his growing power and attempted further attacks and acts of revenge. As a result, Temujin decided to eliminate the Merkit threat completely. He gathered his forces and sought assistance from his allies, including Togrul known as Wang Khan, Yamuka, and other supporters. A vast army was assembled, and Temujin's full military genius was revealed in this campaign. He employed advanced tactics, including intelligence gathering, rapid maneuvers, and psychological warfare. The leading Merkit chiefs, Tokto Beki, Der Yusin, and Kudun Orkan, were powerful adversaries, yet Temujin's forces defeated them through a series of carefully planned battles. Fighting took place along the banks of the Onan and Selange rivers, where the speed of mounted archers, expert use of bows, and the tactic of feigned retreat played decisive roles. Temujin's close companions, Borchu, Mukali, Subadai, and Jeeb, distinguished themselves on the battlefield, scattering the Merkit forces and capturing their leaders. Tokto Beki fled and sought refuge among the Naiman, but was later driven out and is said to have died in exile. Most of the Merkit people surrendered and were absorbed into Temujin's army, greatly increasing his power. After the war, the spoils were abundant. Temujin distributed them fairly among his warriors and companions, rewarded merit, and honored loyalty above all else. This marked the first clear appearance of his governing principles: promotion by merit and justice. With the Merkits destroyed, Temujin gained control over most tribes of eastern Mongolia, and his reputation rose to unprecedented heights. Following this great victory, the time came to unite all Mongol tribes. In 1206, a grand assembly, or Kurultai, was held near the source of the Onan River. This was an unparalleled event in Mongolian history. Nobles, commanders, officials, and people from all tribes gathered and proclaimed Temujin the heaven-ordained supreme leader. He was granted the title Genghis Khan, a name believed to mean vast and mighty, like the ocean. The assembly was marked by celebration, praise, music, rituals of fire worship, prayers to heaven, and solemn oaths of loyalty. After ascending the throne, Genghis Khan immediately began reforms. He proclaimed the great law known as the Yasa, which established strict discipline, promotion based on merit, appointments based on ability rather than clan origin, freedom of religious belief, and severe punishment for theft, deception, and betrayal. The Yasa became the political foundation of the Mongol state and later governed the vast territories of the empire. He also reorganized the army, introducing the decimal system of units of 10, 100, 1,000, and 10,000, and appointing 95 commanders of thousands. Trusted companions such as Borchu, Kali, Barakula, Shalaun, Subadai, and Jeeb were elevated as senior generals. New institutions were established, including the Imperial Guard, the Keshig, strengthening the political and military system. At the assembly, the people praised Genghis Khan and rejoiced in the destiny granted to him by heaven and earth. Genghis Khan himself addressed the gathering, declaring his intention to unite the people and bring their name to the world. This moment became a symbol of Mongol unity, ending internal tribal conflict and marking the beginning of a new era. This chapter vividly portrays the Grand Assembly, the ceremony of enthronement, law-making traditions, military organization, the principle of rewarding merit, and the worship of heaven and earth. Genghis Khan's leadership, wisdom, courage, and sense of justice are fully revealed. As his path to becoming a great Khan reaches its peak, the destruction of the Merkits demonstrates his military brilliance, while the Great Assembly of 1206 stands as a monumental political achievement. This chapter is one of the most joyful and uplifting sections of The Secret History of the Mongols, celebrating Mongol pride and unity. From the moment he received the title of Genghis Khan, the era of the Mongol Empire began, laying the foundation for the world-changing events that were yet to come. The fourth chapter of The Secret History of the Mongols describes the fiercest and most tragic period in Temujin's struggle to unite the tribes. It is a time filled with revenge, betrayal, and the tragedy of broken friendships, focusing especially on the intensifying rivalry with his childhood friend Yemuka and the prolonged wars against the Taychiad tribe. Even after receiving the title of Genghis Khan, internal tribal conflicts had not fully ended. Yemuka, once Temujin's sworn brother, grew jealous as Temujin's power and reputation increased. Although they had once fought side by side, Yemuka began to regard Temujin as a rival. He gathered powerful supporters and persuaded several tribal leaders to form an alliance against him. Thus began the tragic collapse of their friendship, marking the beginning of betrayal. Temujin attempted on several occasions to negotiate with Yemuka and proposed reunification, but Yemuka rejected these offers and instead intensified the conflict. The Taychiads had been Temujin's enemies since childhood. Their leaders, Targutai Kiriltuk and Todowan Achijin, had once expelled Yesagai Batatar's family and enslaved Temujin. They never forgot this past hostility. Joining forces with Yemuka, the Taychiads raised a large army and launched repeated attacks against Temujin. This war was long and fought in many stages. According to tradition recorded in The Secret History of the Mongols, it consisted of 13 major battles. Fighting took place along the banks of the Onan, Toul, and Kurlan rivers, with both sides exhausting their strength. In the early battles, Temujin sometimes suffered defeat, lost warriors, and was forced to flee with his family. Yet through endurance and intelligent strategy, he eventually turned the tide. His close companions, Borchu, Mukali, and Kasar, performed extraordinary feats on the battlefield. They employed the speed of mounted archers, feigned retreats, accurate intelligence, and surprise night attacks to wear down and defeat the Taychiads. At one point, Temujin hid and sought refuge at Burkhun Khaldan, where he prayed to heaven for protection. This episode revealed both his deep spiritual faith and his unbreakable resilience. After the capture of the Taychiad leaders, Temujin finally took revenge for the suffering of his childhood. Targutai Kiriltuk was executed, an act considered lawful under tribal custom. Most of the Taychiad people surrendered and were absorbed into Temujin's forces, further strengthening his power. Once again, the spoils of war were great, and Temujin distributed them fairly, rewarding merit and honoring loyalty above all else. The struggle with Yemuka, however, was the most tragic of all. After suffering defeat, Yemuka fled, but was eventually betrayed by his own followers, who handed him over to Temujin. When Yemuka was brought before him, Temujin remembered their oath of brotherhood and their shared past. According to tradition, he ordered Yemuka's death without the shedding of blood, breaking his back, a gesture meant to show respect to a former sworn brother. This moment embodied the full tragedy of friendship and betrayal. Temujin is said to have grieved deeply, and Yemuka's final words are remembered as an expression of regret for having become his rival. This chapter vividly portrays tribal revenge customs, the brutality of war, jealousy and betrayal, and the sorrow of broken brotherhood. Temujin's courage, endurance, strategic intelligence, and firm decisiveness are shown in their fullest form. The 13 battles tested his strength to the limit, and their victorious conclusion made him the undisputed master of Eastern Mongolia. The defeat of the Taychiads avenged the hardships of his youth, and his renewed prayers of gratitude at Burkhan are described with solemn power. Scenes of Yamuka's final conversation, the punishment of traitors, the cruelty of war, the joy of victory, and the just division of spoils, are depicted with deep emotion. The fourth chapter stands as one of the harshest and most tragic sections of the secret history of the Mongols. It weaves together friendship and betrayal, revenge and triumph, and shows how these trials hardened Temujin's character and strengthened his path towards uniting the tribes. After these struggles, Temujin emerged even stronger, fully prepared for the greater wars that lay ahead.